Hi everyone, my name is Paul and usually friends call me Ninja. I would like to talk about matcaps with you today and how to get the most out of the matcaps that you can find on my ArtStation store. Also, cheers to all the people that supported my work by purchasing one of my packs or one of my assets from the store. Basically, I would like to show you how to get the most out of your matcaps that you purchased or you created your own by just using a few tips and tricks to create unique looks and maybe interesting experiments along the way. Let's just dive in. We're gonna take this model that I made. It's a funny looking skull. It's not meant to be anatomically correct, more like illustration style. So this would serve perfect for our experiment. First of all, the reason why you're seeing the model in this quality is from a few adjustments made in the post-processing part of the app. I'm gonna put some screenshots, particularly this area, so that way you can maybe use the same settings in order to get the same or similar results. I'm just gonna save a few snapshots that I'm gonna make sure to include in the video's description with the link to the material pack on my ArtStation store. So, after adjusting your settings in the post-processing part of the app, we're gonna go to matcaps. Over here, you can see this feature that it's called Use Global Matcap. And for this experiment, I'm gonna take each element of my model and unselect the Use Global Matcap feature. Is for each part to be separate matcaps. Basically, I'm gonna use a matcap for the eyes, a matcap for the face that you can notice it's made out of two major parts. And the reason why I'm gonna do this is because I'm gonna play with the matcaps in such way that I'm gonna use additive function as well, so I can create even more texture and combined colors on my model. So for example, if I'm gonna make everything white, including the eyes, this is my model with just one single matcap, but as you noticed, I applied on each element of my model because I deselected basically for each component the Use Global Matcap feature. Now I'm gonna select one part of my model and I'm gonna apply one of my matcaps from the list. Usually, if you don't have them on your list, just hit import, go to files or photos. I have mine in files, and you can select all of them and just import them. I got mine already imported, so I'm just gonna go ahead and use a few of them. As you can see, just by using two different matcaps already, we have an interesting look on the model. And what I've noticed is by using matcaps of an eyeball, for example, we're gonna go ahead and search for an eyeball. By using an eyeball, his look will always stay in the center, because that's how matcaps work. Basically, they're just photos that help you simulate light and shadow on your model. So if we used a photo of an eyeball instead of making an actual eye, you would notice that the eyes will never lose. You will notice that the eyes will stay always on point. Also, with three fingers drag, we can rotate the matcaps, so that way we can rotate all the way or just slightly adjust the angle that we can see the matcap. Okay, so now the interesting part. I'm gonna take one component of my model and I'm gonna duplicate that component. Let's say this one. Yes, this one. I'm gonna duplicate, and what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller. You won't see the difference. I'm just doing it slightly smaller. And the reason why I'm gonna do this is to pick another matcap, for example this one, and if I make it bigger, you're gonna notice one part of the model that stands out because it's a different matcap. But this time I'm gonna do it basically the same size, or keep it the same size without having to adjust it. And I'm gonna use my drag tool, for example, and I'm gonna start bringing out bits and pieces on my model in such way that I'm gonna have new volumes created with a different matcap. Just by dragging, I'm gonna bring out new shapes, and because of the matcap, I'm having also new colors. Keep in mind that this is just meant to be a playful experiment. Nothing is gonna stick unless I like it enough. From time to time I'm using the smooth tool just to make everything less edgy, because of my vertices count isn't that big. And now that I have a few shapes, I'm gonna switch onto the other part of the model, and I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna create a clone or duplicate it, and using this duplicate, I'm gonna use either move or drag. You can see it's the same matcap, just creating new volumes here and there. By doing so, if I'm gonna change now the matcap and use maybe a really different one, you're gonna see all these new spots. Basically, these new spots are the volume that I duplicated coming out on the surface just by dragging or pulling. You can use this feature with also clay or crease, because when I'm gonna add clay, for example, I'm just gonna add on the model that you couldn't see before. Or if I'm gonna subtract from the model, basically I'm just making sure that it's less visible. This way you can create new shapes with the color already set. I'm gonna use crease tool, for example, and make a few different shapes. like I said, I'm just experimenting here. Nothing is meant to be exactly like this. After bringing out some new shapes and volumes, I'm just gonna smooth out until I find some features that I enjoy on the model. And now, for example, I'm gonna take this volume that I used the color for Matcap, the pink one, and I'm gonna head over to material and I'm gonna hit additive with opacity all the way that you can barely see it. That way it adds more interesting shapes to the model without making it feel bulky, without having to feel that it messed the volume up. It actually created more interesting points of view on the model. So basically now, if I'm gonna use move or drag again, I'm gonna play with the shapes and just notice how you can see with the additive function a lot more colors, color blending as well, and you can play with this function as much as you want. Do this with any part of your model. Just select one part, duplicate it, change the matcap, for example this one, and make it additive with less opacity, and start bringing your model different colors. By doing so, you can already see that my model has so many colors on it that they just work with each other. I'm usually a really big fan of vivid colors. That's why most of my matcaps are so bright and saturated. But also the post-processing helps a lot. If we head on to opacity if we head on to post-processing again, and this time we're gonna activate bloom. Bloom is supposed to give a lot more light to the ones that are additive. So basically, if you're gonna play with this function and you're gonna raise the opacity of an additive object, you can make it all the way that it's gonna light up the scene. As you can see, we've got way more light in the model because of using the additive function with a really high opacity level. In my opinion, it works way better if you reduce the opacity and just add more layers to it, create more duplicates. For example, if I duplicate this one and make it a little bit bigger, you can already see that there are more lights there. You can already see that you can already see how much more light it brings up to the model. Anything that's duplicated and has an additive function will work in your favor regarding light. Will bring more interesting blending parts of the model without having to use actual lights like in PBR renders. It's starting to look way more interesting than it did before. I'm gonna select another volume, duplicate, make it a little bit bigger. As you can see, more colors are adding to the image. Also keep in mind you can color the matcap, bring it to whichever shade or color you would like. For example, this one we're gonna make it way orange, and we're gonna bring up the opacity level so we can see it. And now we're just gonna drag basically I'm just pushing and pulling. That way I can find new volumes, new shapes, new colors just by testing them out. You don't have to do anything precise. Whenever you feel like you don't like something, just go back to where you were, or just exaggerate up until the point that you find the volumes that you would like or the shapes that you like. Kinda liked it before. Maybe bring out on the eyebrows a little bit. I don't know what that was. It was just a sphere, I think. But it kinda got in the way of me actually seeing the results on the back part of the model. Also, don't criticize yourself too much if you don't get it from first. It took me a lot of experiments to find this kind of work. It took me a lot of time to figure out this workflow, and I can't say that it's working 100 times out of 100, but usually it helps me see the model in way more different styles than PBR would offer me. Also, you can change the matcaps anytime you want. Just switch between them, see which one fits better, which one goes with the rest of them. Maybe you can find a combination that I can't even imagine. It would be one hell of a surprise to see your works just going bananas. Also excuse my rubbish English. It's one of the first actual tutorials that I'm trying to do, and for sure I'm a little bit nervous. My English, it's okay, I can manage, but a lot of the times I need to think of what I'm gonna say to make sure you guys understand me. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Drop a comment. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and it helps you in your work. Feel free to drop any comment, any feedback regarding what I just tried to explain you guys. And don't be shy on playing with your models. It doesn't have to look good from start, it will just have to grow on you. That's usually what I think about my models. If it doesn't look good from start, that doesn't mean it's not a good model. It's gonna be a good model if I just keep experimenting enough. Thank you for watching, and let me know if there's anything else you would be interested in me showing you guys or explaining in more detail what I've just showed you. Cheers, have a good one, and keep it creative, man. Just keep it creative.